Yeah, access consciousness is what we're referring to. And we just had a global foundation, which is a class that actually a lot of facilitators can facilitate. Only Gary and Dane usually renew it every year and make it into a new class. And this year it was a pretty intense and amazing class. So I think we're all just a little bit like, duh.
Dogs watching television.
Exactly.
In a
So
good way. You know, when you have that total space in your head and you feel like a space getter and you think that that's wrong, it's actually, wow, there's so much peace and relaxation and quiet in here. It's a bit different. And it's kind of like you're finding your way into a whole new way of being, which is what the animal kingdom invites us to. Funny
absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
And I know our topic today is about, do your animals miss you? I mean, you travel a lot, Susie, but I just wanted to say that often my dog, when we watch classes, because we live stream them on TV, and it's usually 1:30 a.m. in the morning here in Australia. So we suddenly become on, you know, Mexican time or American time, wherever the class is being streamed from, which is no problem. And the dog's in and out, you know, and it's amazing what she goes through when there's a class on as well. And I've been in the questions so much with her as to, well, what's changing for her? When we first adopted her, she would have come with quite a bit of baggage and stress and issues and stuff. And so over the years that she's been in class, now she just curls up, falls fast asleep, and she comes over to each of us, because we have a few friends here for the class too. And it's like she's checking in and contributing what she can to us during the class, and then she'll go back to sleep. So it's amazing how they also perceive that energy. I mean, we know this, but it's like, wow, here's a whole other physical experience in my own living room of, wow, how energy is created and how energy transforms things and brings stuff up. I mean, you know, that's the whole idea of going beyond fixed points of view anywhere you're stuck in your life. So yeah, it was really amazing to watch her through this class, because she didn't go off and try and hide in another room in the house, or she was a lot more space with this particular class. And like I say, she was checking in on the participants, and I was very aware of her doing that. So yeah, I just wanted to add that into today's StreamYard.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. So does Charlie miss you? Does Carol miss you? Do any
Yes,
of the
they
dogs
cry all day long, you know. Well, it's interesting because I think I've said this a few times, but to me, I wish we had like a whole nother set of vocabulary for what it is for animals, because I always feel like the one thing I'm grateful for is that science actually finally now acknowledges that animals have emotions. Whereas before it was like, oh, you know, animals are basically, they don't have emotions. And I'm like, oh my God, anybody who knows an animal or has one at home would tell you unscientifically that that's a lie. But then, you know, nobody could prove it. Well, now there's proof, you know, God knows who they proved it, but they did prove it. But at the same time, like, I wish too, we could actually have a look at this and see the difference, you know, because what we call like missing us has so much, like you used the word baggage before, you know, like has so much baggage to it and has so much meaning to it, and has a lot of stuff that is attached to it. Whereas I do get like that our animals miss us, but it's not the same like as we would describe it. So, you know, that's why sometimes I wish we would have yet, and maybe this will be coming, another set of vocabulary that more matches the energy of what's going on for an animal. Because, so for example, you know, when elephants come across bones of a fellow elephant that has died, and they basically roll them around and they pick them up and they hand them to each other, and then sometimes like their ducts start to get watery, and so they look like they're crying. But do they actually miss that other animal, or is it something else? And every time I just kind of be present with the energy, it feels so much more like, wow, they're really just acknowledging that, you know, that they knew each other, the presence of that other animal, like just that, but not like, oh my God, I miss you so much and I wish you were here. again, you died, like it's yeah, anyway.
Yeah, and something you touched on earlier, and this is, I talk about the tools of Talk to the Animals because I love them, more than any other modality or anything that I've come across. And there's good stuff out there, but this is I just find the tool just cut through so effectively and easily, where we start to put our emotions. It's like we project all of our own human stuff into an animal's world, and because they're so connected to us, and especially dogs, they so want to please us and be part of our life, that they'll take that energy and they'll do something with it, and if it's like you're leaving for work and your dog's giving you the the whole sad eyes. It's like, oh God, I feel terrible, I feel really guilty, I'm leaving my poor dog alone. And they're so connected to what we are feeling and putting out and projecting on our thoughts. They're so connected to that they will oblige with a response, with a reaction that we then interpret. So there's all this presumption going on with this energetic conversation that could be just deleted, and let's start a whole new conversation and see what that creates.
Exactly.
What's possible? When we go on holiday, I did a Talk to the Animals introduction yesterday, and one of the ladies asked a question about her cat. She's about to head overseas for 6 weeks and see family that she hasn't seen for years. And through COVID, she's taken on this cat that's got a beautiful bond with her. And she was just going, oh my God, I'm really anxious about the cat and this, that, and the other. And what we got to was when she was a little girl, she was given a puppy, and her parents literally propelled and impelled into her world that this is your dog, this is your responsibility, and she was a kid. And so here we are as an adult. She didn't know that she was still holding on to this point of view. And she said, I haven't been able to find anybody. And I went, well, do you think this is maybe why, that you've had this point of view about being responsible for her was maybe being a 24/7 carer for this cat and giving up her life and not traveling and going away because of the responsibility of, what if the cat misses me? What if she runs away? What if the people don't look after her? This whole thing that was stopping her from just, oh my God, I'm going to see my family for the first time in 4 years, And I said, look, what if somebody can turn up that's actually going to love your cat more than you do? That's going to be around more than you are, or, that the cat has a great time with. And we got to this thing about her taking on this point of view of responsibility that was so misappropriated. There was so much energy behind what her family delivered into her that she was kind of stuck in this corner and she couldn't move. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And how cool is that to actually change that for someone too, and this is really not about poo-pooing what might be going on for an animal when you leave the house, because some animals do get anxious. But like Viv was saying, how much of that is also us projecting anxiety and being worried. Whereas if we were really willing to actually, and this is one thing my cat really taught me many years ago, and I've been using this forever, and it's actually also in our manuals now, because it was such a revelation for me too, was to stay energetically connected to your animal when you leave the house. And this was totally unclear to me. And our natural way of doing it, and natural, I'm putting in quotation marks, because it's not natural, but to us it is, leaving the house, going away, always has the sense of, I'm doing something wrong. I'm leaving my animal behind. I need to sneak out. I shouldn't be doing this. And whenever we go into any of those weird things, then we're actually cutting ourselves off energetically. And that part the animals actually have a hard time with. It's not so much that we're physically leaving the house or leaving them there. It's that we also energetically cut ourselves off from them. And they don't know what to do with that part. That part to them is really foreign, and they really don't get it, And my cat was really showing me that when I was doing that she actually, to her, it was as if I was dying. Like, she couldn't even connect with me. She didn't know where I was. She didn't know what was going on for me. And so when I would come home 3 weeks later from some trip, she would be looking at me going, who are you? Like, she kind of knew me, but she didn't quite know me. And she had already so she had to reacquaint herself with me, and it would take her 3 days. which then didn't work for me, because oftentimes after 3 days I was packing and leaving again, for another trip. So so she really showed me and taught me how to stay connected with her energetically, and I started doing that by putting her on my phone, and then every time I looked at my phone, I made a point to energetically have a connection with her. And once I started doing that, it was so interesting how she never had that ever again. Like, she would wait for me when I would come home, which she had never done before. She was like friendly with me right away. She hadn't done that before. So it really changed everything quite dynamically. And it was just so simple.
Yeah, and when we acknowledge everything is energy, there is no, animals don't know that you're flying to Paris or, Perth or wherever you're going to. They don't have that geographical map in their brain, but they have that sense of connection with you energetically. So, we talk about the energy flows within the tools of access too, where you keep your energy in their world. And every time, for you looking at your phone, Susie, it's like, oh, hi, Bubba, you just have that connection and flow that energy to them, so they don't feel that sense of loss and separation. And something else that you just pinged on then too is, like people say, oh, I got home and my dog sulked for 3 days and he wouldn't look at me and he wouldn't talk to me and he had his back to me again. And they get confused. Like you're saying, Bubba didn't know what to do with that energy. They get confused because it's something that they don't know, they don't recognize in their own world. So be aware of this. If, we love to create these stories around our animals. We have this imaginary speak and relationship that we speak out, and what we think and what we speak is what we create. So if you become more aware of, well, how would I like my relationship to be with my cat, dog, horse, whoever it is that you're leaving behind when you go on a trip? Would you rather them be totally relaxed and enjoy whoever's looking after them, or still go out and have their life as normal? They're aware that one of their pack member isn't around, but you've already let them know, hey, look, I'm going away and I'll come back. And, there is a connection that they don't feel that sense of total, where are they? That sense of loss.
Totally. Yeah, and it is real simple. These tools are so easy to use, and if we just let go of our, you were touching on the presumptive way of thinking about these things, where we just kind of come to conclusion, oh, I'm going away and that means my animal is going to be upset with me. Well, if you already have that point of view, instead of actually looking at, well, what creates that in the first place, and why is that a necessity? It doesn't have to be a necessity. It can really be joyful. And like you were saying, Viv, what if the animal actually enjoyed the person they're with more than they enjoy you even? Like, what if you had that allowance, But I mean, we get so weird with that too. It's like, oh my God, no, if my animal starts loving, exactly,
I'm the one.
And it's funny because for me too, I really want my animals to enjoy whoever they're with. And to me, it really, like, I know Charlie really enjoys me and he loves me and he enjoys the people that are sitting with him and sitting for him, and that's important, like having him also enjoying those people, because otherwise, yeah, it becomes a little bit tricky. I find that, I would rather have somebody there that they love, and even if they love them, more, it's so funny. Like, I always say, hey, look, if you don't like hanging out with me anymore, let me know, because then we'll move you on and find you a place that actually works for you. And the animals will let you do that too. Like, I know my dog Savannah did that. She moved on. Like, hey, if it's not happening between us, why are we hanging on so tightly? We're allowing ourselves to break up in our human relationship world, but with our animals, we don't allow any breakups. It's so funny to me.
And Susie, there is such a generosity. I can feel what this is bringing up for anybody that's watching this now or in the future that doesn't kind of have this level of awareness of what's possible. We're not saying this is right or wrong. It's just a different possibility that we're posing with all of our conversations that we have. And, a lot of people would go, but no, it's my dog or it's my horse, and they do this ownership. But there's a generosity that you do genuinely desire, that benevolence, that well-meaning. You just desire your animals to be happy, the people in your life to be happy. And if that means, hey, look, we're done, let's find you somebody better than me, or somewhere you'll be happier and more loved, or you get more of what you would like to have. There's a real kindness and a real honoring and a generosity to the animal, because we can get really clingy and ownership, and they can become people's, primary relationships. So people use animals for all sorts of things. And I know on the live today, we've got Alicia, who's presently looking after Sarah Watts' two horses and her dog. And, it's like, you can ask your animals, hey, who would you love to have come and stay with you? Who would be fun for you? Who's going to give you a different level of attention and touching and, appreciation? So you can ask your animals. And, Alicia's been posting some terrible photos of having way too much fun with the animals. And, and for Sarah to go away and have absolute peace, knowing that, hey, I can relax, I can enjoy where I am, and I can be present with who I am, rather than, oh my God, is my horse all right? Checking the phone every 5 minutes. And because again, they can sense that energy. So
totally.
And my dog's brilliant we moved to a totally new area where there's not that many people living. I'm like, okay, well, this is going to be fun. Pulling in a dog sitter, because I'm not stopping my life because I've moved to a new area. She's pulled in the most amazing lady who comes and, takes photographs of her and moves the bed where she wants it, and, totally dotes on her. And I'm like, go girl, look what you've created.
Totally.
So your animals are totally capable of bringing in the people that they would love to have around them too, if you ask them.
Yeah, totally. And what you just said, it's so cool because, like my dogs, for example, get brushed when I'm not home. I don't brush them, but it's so cool. I mean, I love it too, because it is different, and they don't have to do everything your way either. Yes, of course, there are certain things that I'm a bit adamant about too, like with the food and everything, because there were times when I would be gone, and I travel a lot. So then I'm gone for like 5-6 weeks at a time. And so, in the beginning, when I had this one new sitter, she thought she was doing them a favor by giving them treats and things, and they weren't used to that, and so they all gained weight. And so when I came back, I was like, oh, what happened here? So I was investigating, and she was telling me that she was giving treats, and I said, oh, well, let's not do that. Let's change it, because to me, blah blah blah. But so anyway, I mean, you can adjust these things, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, yes, they all gained weight, but that wasn't the end of the world either. So what if it was also easy for you? And that's, I think, with what you said too, like the having the ease for you, but also knowing that, hey, look, even if they do something a little bit different than you do it, it's not going to mean that it's bad. It's just different.
Yeah, exactly. And I just had a little flash while you were talking of, I remember when my grandma used to come and look after us on the very rare occasions Mum and Dad would allow themselves to go away. And we used to love grandma coming. We could stay up a bit later, and we could, eat food. There was always this little bit of naughty but nice energy as well. So, what if, and this is the thing, it's like dogs love, particularly, they love sniffing different people and getting to know people. And so who could you bring in? Who could you ask for? Who could you reach out across your area or the planet even and ask who would like to come look after my animals? And animals, who would you love to have? That you don't have to go through that whole guilt trip and, oh, well, we won't go on holiday for 6 weeks because that's too long. Or the cat, maybe they don't have to go into a kennel. Maybe they don't have to go into a cattery. It's a choice, but there are other options for you. So it's just really about opening up to other possibilities that could work for you. Your animals own you, but that doesn't mean your life has to stop. You don't have to put off what you want to do, or, oh, I've got to go home because the dogs are inside, or what else is possible? We've got 3 neighbors on our street, All of them have keys to my place. All of them will come in here. They'll bring their cup of coffee and sit and chat with Bella and take her outside. One lady even brings her magazine with a coffee and sits out in the garden, and she sends me photographs. And this woman isn't even into dogs. I'm like, wow, Bella, you're incredible. So anything's possible. And the joy that brings her, she's not an animal person, but she loves it. She'll always send me photographs and have a little commentary running, and I can see the joy that it brings in her world. Even though she's not into animals and wouldn't have her own, she still gets it.
Yeah, that is so cool. And I think one thing is also important is that we do things also that work for us, because like you were saying, the idea of like putting your cat in a cattery or putting your dog in a kennel while you're gone, it has to work for you as well. Because one thing is important is that you are also relaxed. Because if you're not relaxed, then the animal picks that up no matter how far away you are, and it's not really going to work well. So if you have the point of view that your dog is safer if you are dropping them off at a kennel, or if your cat is in a cattery rather than having a house sitter be at your house, etc., please do what works for you too. It doesn't always just have to be what the animal desires, because it's a two-way street, and it has to work for all of you, and you have to also kind of be willing to try it out, what actually does work. What do you feel comfortable with? And one time I was putting Charlie in a kennel, and he didn't like it there at all. And he let me know right away, and I knew it. And I was like, yeah, I'll never put you there again. But he made sure I wouldn't ever put him there again by being so naughty that the lady said, I will never have him again. And I was like, okay, you took care of that. Okay. I know that was easy, but so what if it was really easy for you too, and not just like, oh, what's the right thing to do here? No, it has to work for everybody.
Yeah. And I just before we finish, I met a lady about 3 weeks ago who farm sits. And so of course people that have farms, their number one thing is we can never take a holiday. We can never go away because we've got cows or sheep or chickens or whatever it is that they have on their farm. If that doesn't have to be so either, you're not married to the farm unless you choose to be. So there are so many different people that would love to travel to your property and take care of your property and look after your home so that you can go away if that's something that you choose, and there's no, for me, there's always a possibility. There are no no's in my world. It's like, yeah, it might feel like I've got Mount Everest to climb, but you know what? Step at a time.
So
what's
true.
possible? What's possible? What is possible with my animals that I've never considered before? And just asking that question allows the space and the universe to go, and your animals to contribute. We'd love you to go on a holiday, So what else is possible?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and the thing is too, like when you go away and it actually rejuvenates you and your body, then how much more fun are you also going to have with your animal again, So there's also that, and you have to be willing to look at that too. It's not, like I said before, it really has to be something that is a contribution to everyone involved. And not really stifles you in the way that you want to live your life.
Exactly. So thank you, Susie. No, awesome conversation. I don't remember what we have for our topic next week.
I don't either. I was going to look it up and then I completely spaced. So I am sorry. I'm not sure. But yes, we have one next week. Let's just say that.
It can be a surprise.
Exactly. Come find us again.
Yes, come and play. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And Alicia have way too much fun with Sarah's horses and her puppy dog, Frankie. Thank you, Susie.
Thank you, Viv. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.